Let me start this podcast by saying that I've been hiding some things from you and I've been hiding a part of myself, and I will explain to you why I've been doing that. But most importantly, I really want to share this piece of information with you because the people that have shared it so far said that it really helped them to put what is happening right now into a larger perspective. Now, just to give you some context, I'm not what they call mundane astrologer. Mundane astrologers, they mainly look at the astrology and how that relates to the big societal movements. Now, I do, because it's part of studying astrology, I do look at what is happening. And I say studying because you continue to learn and study, because every day is a brand new configuration of the planets and we're learning new things every single day. So that's why I'm saying I still study astrology, because it's not something that you just check a box and you're done. So what I've been doing in the past few months is looking deeper into the history and the connection between certain planetary alignments and what that means for the phase that we're in right now. So today I want to share with you what is going on and to put the events that are happening right now into a larger context, and not just a context of a few years or decades. I'm literally talking about hundreds of years of connecting certain dots. But before I dive into that, I want to share with you why I've been hiding this. I don't know about you, but from a very young age, we're taught to share things when they're perfect, to show when you have mastered a skill, and then you talk about it, even in the coaching world. And I was reminded by that by a post that someone shared. She is sharing what is going on right now. She's still in that mucky middle situation, but she just wanted to share what she was feeling. And in the coaching world as well, people are like, but you need to have figured everything out before you share that you're going through maybe a bit of a rough, well, not really rough phase, but just a phase where you're figuring things out. But why? Why can't we share? I mean, I'm just not talking about sharing everything we're going through, but why can't we share when we're in the middle of it? So while I am studying astrology, especially what happened hundreds of years ago, connecting those dots. And I don't have all the answers, and I haven't read, well, honestly, I don't think I can read all the books that are out there on this topic, but I'm still in the middle of studying this. So I don't have all the answers. I don't have clear answers to everything. And at the same time, I realized that not sharing this information with you, actually stopping you from understanding and getting to a place where you understand your own path even better. And this is without you having to dive into your own chart. This is me going to explain to you why these things are happening right now. So when we look at bigger planetary alignments, we mostly look at what we call the outer planets. The moon has a cycle of roughly a month, about 29 days. So we go through this moon cycle every single month, over and over again. We see our emotional responses come back over and over again. Like personally, I know when the moon's in Scorpio, I get a little intense. And I know that for myself. But there's an interesting thing when we start to look at the bigger cycles. So we have, for instance, Pluto, which is the planet that's the furthest away from the sun, which also happens to move the slowest. And by the way, I know in astronomy, Pluto is not a planet, but I'm talking astrology here, and we still call Pluto a planet. So to give you some perspective, Pluto takes about 248 years to complete one cycle. It stays in one sign roughly between 9 to 30 years. This is a bit of a wide range, but that is because Pluto has an elliptical orbit, so it doesn't just go in a circle. Uranus is a planet that takes about 84 years to complete a cycle and stays roughly in one sign for 7 years. And in this podcast episode, I mainly want to focus on Pluto and Uranus. And the reason why I want to do that is because Pluto is massive transformation, is deeply uprooting the shadows and looking at the death and rebirth cycle. Uranus is rapid change, restructuring, reforming. When those two planets are coming together, it correlates with huge revolutions and things that shift and change in society. And not just society, also technology, because Uranus also rules technology. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because we just completed a very significant aspect between Pluto and Uranus. They had a square from about 2007 until 2020. Now, I don't have to tell you that from 2007 to 2020 has been an interesting period where we have seen massive transformation. For instance, in 2007, Facebook was launched. The first iPhone was published. Twitter came online. Airbnb started. These are all technological advancements that have rapidly changed the way that we see the world. Think about before 2007. Who could have imagined that we would hold a small computer in our hand? Now we're just used to smartphones because everybody has them. But back then, that was the start of a major revolution, a technological revolution. And why this is so interesting? Because now that we have almost come out of the square, and the reason why it's hard to say when this exactly stops, these planets move so slow that when they make a connection, when they make a square, it's not like just one day and it's over. Like I said, for your reference, the moon takes 29 days to complete a cycle. So when there's a new moon, when the sun and the moon are together, or when there's a full moon where the sun and the moon are opposite each other, we only feel that for a day or two because they move on and they move so fast through the zodiac. When these two planets come together, or make a square in this case, we don't just feel that when they're actually making the square, it's also after that. And because these planets, they're giants, they really shift society, we really start to see the effects of that square right now. And it's not just what's happening right now. Every time a Pluto and Uranus either made a square, an opposition, or a conjunction, massive shifts happened in society and in technology. For instance, the French Revolution, modern communism, the militant women's movement, Black civil rights movements, all happened the turn of the 20th century. That's not a coincidence. Again, look at the 60s and early 70s. We had the Black civil rights movement with Martin Luther King Jr. We had Malcolm X. In South Africa, we had Nelson Mandela. And all over Africa, they were taking back the rights of their own countries. You can trace back many, many revolutions in history to Pluto and Uranus. And right now, we have internet, we have phones, we have television, so we know what's happening on the other side of the world. But they didn't know that hundreds of years ago. These revolutions happened in the same time frame, but without even being aware what was happening on the other side of the world. This is what I find really fascinating. And every time we go through these revolutions, whether they're civil revolutions, technological revolutions, we see the world through a different lens. Every time we go through these revolutions, we go up. It's like a spiral. We don't just look at it from, okay, we just go in the same circle and we have the same aspect again, so of course this is what is happening. We go up. We see the world from a different perspective. when I was in conversation with someone, we talked about how this generation right now, our generation, is seeing that bigger, higher, more isn't better. I think we are one of the first generations who realized, wait a minute, the revolution that we just had with our phones and our computers, it's amazing. And there's a downside to it. So for the first time in history, I think, we are coming back to nature. And actually, it's not even coming back. It is redefining our relationship to nature. We see how destructive phones can be, social media. We do realize how it helps us and how it advances our lives, and at the same time, what the downfall is of it. We can see that this isn't everything there is. We just went through a pandemic and we're still not out of it. And that made a lot of people realize what is important. I've never heard more people saying that they're quitting their job, that they're choosing time over money, that they're making a conscious choice to spend the time with their family and friends instead of working all the time. Now, I don't know about you, but my parents were always busy with working, making more money. Not that they forgot everything else, but there was always this drive to create a better life than their parents from a financial perspective. And I believe that our generation is starting to create a better life than their parents based on the quality of their life, based on the time that they have, the free time that they have. That, I think, is where the biggest revolution is right now. Because we just come out of this massive revolution, and we're still not out of it completely because it never stops, but the really fast, rapid transformation is behind us. And now it's time for integration. And this is not an integration that takes a few months or a few years. This is a few decade integration. But we realize what is possible. And we also realize what we're doing to planet Earth. We're destroying her if we keep this up. Our hunger for more, for bigger, for higher, that's not what is going to bring us fulfillment. Because what happens when Pluto and Uranus come together, there's also a shadow side. And that is with every single planetary alignment. There's always a shadow side. Because at the same time when we saw civil rights movements, the same time as we saw Black Lives Matter, Me Too movement, we also saw the shadow side of that. Nationalists standing up and they so-called claim what they thought is theirs. We see leaders in the world now really trying to hold on to their power, showing their ego, their need, their hunger for power, and they're doing whatever it takes to claim it and to stay on top of their game. That's because they feel the transformation too, and they don't want it. They want things to stay the same because that's how they got their power and that's how they will stay in power. And they're doing whatever they need to do to keep that power, to show the world that back off because this is my territory. And that's scary too, because when Pluto shows its dark side, it is really, really dark. And I don't say this to scare you because I never want to do that, but I also want to show you that every time when we go through this massive transformation, there is a shadow side. There always is a downside. But the beauty in this is too that we get to choose what we are going to do with this energy. because we are moving into a more harmonious energy, we get to decide where this revolution lands. We get to decide where this goes. Recently, on a podcast interview, I was asked about the rise of the divine feminine. And I said I don't think it's much about the rising of the feminine. This is about harmonizing the divine masculine and feminine. It is bringing back where the feminine is supposed to be, equal to masculine. And honestly, you cannot call them divine masculine and divine feminine if they're not equal. It's like yin and yang. They go together in harmony. And what I'm seeing right now is that reclaiming of that feminine energy. And not just in women, this is happening in men as well. For me, the divine feminine is the respect to nature, is the respect to the divine order. Because we as humans are not above the divine order. We are part of it. And what we are doing right now is completely destroying the earth because we don't respect the order. This is not a hierarchical order. This is a divine order where everything is moving together. Right now, we are in the Pisces energy. And not just because it's Pisces season, but also because we have Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. So we get to bring this unification energy to everything that we do. And this energy is only for the first few months of this year. So this energy will wane a bit again. So I want you to focus on what you can do. How can you bring things together? How can you see the connection between everything? The divine connection. It is so important that we allow ourselves to see and feel this. And the reason why I want to share this with you today is all the conversations that I have with my clients, as well as other business owners, my friends. It revolves a lot around, but what are we doing? I'm running my business. There's a war happening in Europe. The planet is either on fire or there are floods. What does it mean? What is my role in this? And I want to give you this broader context of these cycles that keep repeating. And we get to choose how to move with that energy. Like I said, we're in a phase of integration. We know what we're capable of. We know what we as humans can do. And we also know all the things that are out there for us still to explore. But why can't we simplify? I think it's time to realize that we don't need to make our lives more complicated. It is time to make our lives more simple. And with simple, I don't mean boring. Actually, simplifying things gives you a lot of peace. Simplifying your business gives you a lot of peace. And how that simplifying process exactly looks like, we're going to find out over the next few years. But I want you to make the commitment that things can be easier, things can be simplified. And you can start with that today. Clean out a drawer. Clean out a closet. Simplifying. We don't need more. We need more quality. We need more time. Time is the most precious thing that we have here on earth. The only thing we can literally not make more of. You can only choose how you use your time, what you spend your time on. And you want that to be with things that light you up. You want that to be with things that make a difference for yourself, for your family, for your community, for the world. You want to be able to choose wisely. And over the next few years, this becomes so much more important for every single one of us to choose wisely, to simplify, to focus on what matters. I will be doing more research on this, and every time when I have new insights, I will share them with you with practical tips on how to harness this energy that we are in. Because I feel like we are at such a pivotal point in history again, where we get to decide what direction we're going into. Quite frankly, we always have that ability to make that choice. But we just had such a massive revolution, technological revolution, civil revolutions, that we understand our need for freedom. That's also what Uranus is about. The need for freedom. The need to design our lives, our businesses, the way that works for us. I can go on and on about this, but I want to leave you with this. What does freedom mean to you? What does freedom look like to you? And how can you simplify your life and business so that you experience even more freedom? Think about that. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please share this with your friends, with your business buddies, and let them know how important it is to understand the bigger cycles that we are in. I love for you to share this on Instagram. You can tag me, send me a DM, let me know what you think about this. And let me know how you are experiencing it as well. That's it for this episode. I will speak to you again next time.